Okay, Boker Tov. Happy Lag BaOmer to everybody. And those of you, I hope you enjoyed the bonfire last night. If you didn't see it, you could still see a recording of it. It was one of our highest viewed recordings. I guess people like to see good fires.
It was good. Thank you.
It's still, as I'm looking from my window, it's still smoldering. The fire is still smoldering, but much reduced from last night. Okay, let us continue with the discussion in our Gemara here on Yud Ches Amud Beis 18b, continuing to try to bring more proofs as to whether the dead are aware of what goes on in this world. Tashma, come in here, a proof from the following story. The Zeiri, there was a man a rabbi by the name of Zeiri, have a mafkid zuze gabe ushpezichte. He entrusted some money with a landlady. Okay, I guess he was traveling, was in an inn, didn't want to have the money in his room, so he gave it to the innkeeper, who happened to be a lady in her good trusting. So it was there, whatever, a few days. Ad the Asi va'azo, while he was away at the academy, he was learning Lebei Rav. He was by yeshiva, it seems. So he figured when he'll come back, he'll get the money. Shchiva, she died, and Siri didn't know where she put the money. Okay, and he needed the money very badly. So Azul Basra Lochatzar Maves, he followed her to the courtyard of death, meaning he went to the cemetery. So the simple shot is he went to the grave. The Vilna Gaon says that wouldn't be enough. Here it really means the geographic, not the geographic, but the spiritual place. In other words, where she is in Shemayim. Either way, he wants to communicate with her. Amar lo, he said to her, Zuze Hechi, where's the money? Amar lo, she said to him, Zil shaklinhu mituse, go take it from underneath, bitsinura didasha, under the pivot of a door, beduch plan, in such and such place. She hid it under the pivot of a door. That's where you'll find it. Now, so that's good, but now she throws in another line. Ve'ema lo le'ima, and she added the following, and tell my mother, Tishadar li masrekai veguftai de kuchla. Tell my mother to send me my comb and my tube of cosmetic paint. When you come, I need my makeup. Now, obviously, this was, she died young and she was missing this. Well, anyway, and where is the makeup? And why should you do it? Bahadi Pelonisa to Osimacher. She should send the comb and the makeup with so-and-so who's dying and coming here tomorrow to be buried. So my whatever, I know another young girl someone's gonna die, so she could bring me the stuff. Send it with me. So what do you see from here? Al-Mayadi. Apparently, she knew that so-and-so was dying. So this episode proves that they know what's going on with the worldly affairs. That was the whole point. Do the dead know what's going on down here? So obviously it appears that they do, because she's saying so-and-so's going to die. So how would she know so-and-so is going to die? So it seems to be a proof. So the Gemara answers, no, Dilma, again, Duma Karima Machrisaho. It could be again that the angel Duma, that's the ones in charge of bringing the dead people into the next world, he may have made that announcement to the dead that this person is arriving the next day, and that's how she knows about it. In other words, so the last Gemara said maybe somebody who died in the interim let them know. Now we're saying there's an angel who lets the people in the next world know when people are dying. So it's not that they really know what's going on in this world per se. They only know which people are going to join them. That's as far as that goes. Now, there's a very disturbing part to this Gemara, obviously. And the disturbing part is, what does it mean that the young girl asks for a comb and cosmetics? I mean, you are in the next world, and in the next world, you should better well know what's going on over here. So this was a Gemara. When I learned this Gemara, oh man, first time I learned this Gemara must have been well over 40 years ago. So this Gemara was disturbing me, and like other Gemaras that were disturbing me. So now we're going to switch modes for a moment and digress, but I think it's an interesting digression. So let us stop this sharing of the screen and go to another sharing of the screen. Hang on. Okay, I believe you now see another screen, correct? Whoopa, that shouldn't have happened. 1 minute.
No, same screen.
Almost.
Hang on. Let's try it one more time. Share screen. That's what I want. That's what I did wrong. Okay, how about now?
Yes, this time.
Do you see a new text on the
Something new.
screen?
New text.
Yeah.
10, 11,
Yep.
page 3.
Yeah. Okay, let me just fix that up. Is it big enough? I can make it a little bigger.
Bigger is better.
Okay. How's that?
Okay, we don't have the whole sentence. That's okay.
Nice
There
and
you
big.
go.
That's good.
Okay, so that was the story. So let's look at point number 2. There's another Gemara that's very strange. When Onkelos, Onkelos, the great commentary on the Chumash, he was a convert. He was also the nephew of Titus, the wicked. So he considered converting to Judaism. So he wanted to ask some people if it was a good idea. So Titus, who already was dead, but he was the one who destroyed the temple, so he was able through witchcraft to raise his uncle Titus from the dead. And he asked them the following. He said, and on point 2, who's the most important in the next world? Who are the people that are really worth something eternally? So Titus said, the Jews are. Okay, so Onkelos asked, so should I attach myself to them? Should I convert? If they're really important, should I convert to them? So he says, no, they have too many laws. You won't be able to observe them. And then Titus added in the bold, better to fight them, fight against them, and be the leader in the world. Because it says in the Medrash, those who oppress them were on top. So Titus says, no, don't join them. Try to oppress them, and you'll be on top like I was. So now Onkelos asked his uncle, pardon the pun, what is your judgment in the next world? What are you getting now? He says, my judgment is what I decreed on myself. Every day I am burnt anew, and my ashes are scattered over the 7 seas. So I learned that Gemara a couple years after I learned the first Gemara. I said, well, that's really wacky. I mean, Titus is in the place of reality now. He's in the next world, the place of reality. And he's suffering greatly every day. He's burnt up and his ashes are scattered. So what gives over here? How could he give such advice? So I'm going to spare you a very, very long story. If you see on the side over there, it's a long story that basically was dealing with a what do you call it? I'm just getting a brain freeze for a second. A spirit that entered, a dibuk, a spirit that entered into the body of a woman. It's a whole story. It's a great story, but I don't got time for it. And you'd have to, and this happened not that long ago, as you'll see, who we're dealing with. It was during, maybe a little over 100 years ago, maybe 150 years ago. And we know there are stories where dibbuks, spirits, entered people's bodies. Anyway, and then you have to go through a whole process of for sure knowing it's really a dibbuk and it's not a person just hallucinating. And then there's the idea of, exorcising it out of the body of the person. So in the interim, so the big rabbis who were involved, because you have like a soul, what happens is the person's soul, for whatever reason, is being punished, and they float through the world, and there's angels running after them and trying to hurt them. So they try to find a place to protect themselves, refuge inside the body of another person. And when they enter the other person's body, that it's very traumatic. The other person cannot behave in a normal fashion, and their body is, so to speak, taken over. And you got to try to exorcise it out. Anyway, so let's pick it up the middle of the story. This is brought in the introduction to the Sefer Lev Elio from Aveli Lopian. So this is a very reliable source. So here we go. It says, he began to ask a questions. The rabbi was asking the dibbuk, the questions about who it was and where it came from. And it answered that it had lived several decades ago, and that had been a young man from the town of Brisk. The young man had traveled to Africa, where his friends had a bad influence on him, and he ended up transgressing all the laws of the Torah. Once he was traveling in a carriage, he fell out and was killed. And now his spirit had wandered throughout the world until that very day. Rabbi Mendel asked him why he had not done tshuva before he died, and he said he was so scared as he was falling, he forgot to do tshuva. So he did a lot of averos. He didn't do tshuva. His soul is wandering. Okay. Another part of the story they relate, the dibbuk at times screamed out in the presence of Rabbi Mendel. That was the rabbi who exorcised him. He screamed so loudly and so terrifyingly, like blood-curdling screams. Everyone who heard it was extremely frightened. And they said, what are you screaming about? He said, the destroying angels are waiting for me to go out of this body to tear me apart. Okay, because you see, the angels can't hurt him when he's in another person's body. Okay, so you see that this dibbuk is like terrified of the reality that awaits. Now here's the part of the story that's important. A few moments later in this discussion, the dibbuk began to speak mockingly in such raw, ugly language. He's like swearing and just saying disgusting street talk in front of the rabbis, that the people around had to cover their ears in order to avoid hearing such disgusting talk. So now, here's the point. They asked the dibbuk to explain itself. Moments before, you're crying out for help in a terrified voice because you see these angels are trying to punish you. And now you're cursing and saying all kinds of vulgar words. So what gives over here? So listen to what the dibbuk answered. He said, listen, if you don't repent and your deeds are not purified of sin, then the soul continues to run after evil just as it did below. In other words, if you don't fix up your neshama in this world, it's going to still carry a lot of problems afterwards. So Reb Shalom then concluded this whole story by quoting the person who told him the story. This was a number of generations told over. He says, we can learn from this story the awful power of the desire for evil. Even its great fear of the 5 destroying angels that it saw could not stop the dibbuk from speaking the type of vile and derisive words that it was accustomed to speak while alive. So you see that you've got to really take care of things in your lifetime. Now this, if you want to think, okay, that's a nice story, but like, is there any like earlier sources for all this? Yes. And we're going to go to the Rambam, who many say is the great intellectual, but of course the Rambam also knew a lot about this kind of stories. So the Rambam tells us in Pirkei Avos, in this commentary of Pirkei Avos, he says, we've already explained in the 10th chapter of Sanhedrin that once you die, you can't make yourself any better. You can't add on to what you've done. In other words, in this world is where you make yourself a better person. You do more mitzvahs, you improve your midos, etc., etc. But in the next world, you can't do that. He brings a pasuk from Koheles. Now, this is what the Rambam adds, and this is the bold, and this is the critical thing. But this matter is that the situation to which a person goes will remain the same forever. And in other words, the way you are when you leave this world, that's the way you're going to be forever. In terms of how worthy did you, how pure did you make yourself, how spiritual, how connected did you make yourself to Hashem in this world, how much did you develop the raw talent that you had, to that degree that you developed it, that's the way it's going to be forever. And therefore the Rambam says that because of this, a man should make efforts during his short time in this world and not waste his time, but only spend it on the acquisition of virtues, as his loss would otherwise be great, since he has no replacement for it and cannot acquire it later. And since the pious ones know this, they only saw fit to finish their time with wisdom and the increase of virtues. And they benefited from all of their time in the true way. And they only frittered very little time on physical matters and on a thing that is necessary and impossible without that. But others spend all of their time only in physicality, and they left the world like they came to it, all corresponding to how it came, so will it go. And they lost an eternal loss. And the masses all switched the truth about this question and said that the first group lost the world and that the last group profited. And the matter is the opposite. What he is saying is, there's two types of people. There's people who say, let's just enjoy this world, and you don't have to spend a lot of time on spirituality. There's others who say, no, you have to spend a lot of time on spirituality and less on physical involvement in the pleasures of this world. So the people involved in the physical pleasure say, boy, what a bunch of losers. These people are not enjoying this world, and they're losing out on this world. But the Rambam is saying the truth is it's the opposite. Because remember, this world is just a portal to the next world, which is going to be forever. And that forever is only going to be as good as you make it now in this temporary stay in this world. So people make a big mistake. And the Rambam is saying, and again, this bold is critical, the way you are when you leave this world in terms of appreciating Hashem, closest to Hashem, all these things, it isn't going to get any better in the next world in terms of the essence of your spiritual personality. Okay, one more story to complete the trilogy, as it were. And there's many more, but I'm just getting the basics. This is a very famous story of the Chafetz Chaim. The Chafetz Chaim would often give a Musar shmooze on Friday night between Kabbalah Shabbos and Mariv to the yeshiva Bachram. And this is the great Chafetz Chaim, and even such a great person, but he lived in Rodin, so only 20, 25 Bachram would be in the house. So anyway, he told the Bachram at this Friday night shmooze, he said, I've got such an important secret I want to tell you, but I can't tell it to you in a regular session. I want you to come at 3 in the morning, 3 in the mornings, Saturday morning, in the middle of the night, and I'll reveal the secret. Whoa, that's something special. So that the news that the Chafetz Chaim to say such a secret, so they go all home and they wake up their parents. Parents, whoa, yeah, really? And then all of a sudden the whole city gets up. Imagine Saturday night, Friday night, 3 o'clock in the morning, the Chafetz Chaim's got an unbelievable secret. It comes 3 o'clock, the place is jam-packed, standing room only. What's the Chafetz Chaim going to say? So the Chafetz Chaim starts off by saying this prayer that's at the top of the screen, the one you just said this morning. Elokai, my God, neshama shenasata bi ta'orei, the soul that you gave me is tar. Ata v'rasa, you created it. Ata yitzarta, you fashioned it. Ata nefachta bi, blew the spirit into me. You watch it inside of me. In the future, you'll take it away from me. And you'll return it back to me in the future, etc., etc. Now, if you notice the proper way to read these words, if you notice, I'll just highlight one of them. You notice there's a dot in the hey at the end of the word. So the proper way to read that word is ulahachazirah. I don't know if you could hear that, emphasizing the hey part. See the mapik hey over there. And it's in a number of places. You created it, it's our ta, you blew into it, etc. But this is what we're focusing on. Ulahachazirah. And you will return it to me. So now, the Chavetz Chaim said this prayer, and he said the following in point 10. It does not say you'll return a neshama to me. But with that dot in the hay, that little dot in the hay, lachazirah, it means, but you will return it to me. Which means the same neshama which is taken from a person at the end of his life is the one returned to him in the future. In the same condition that it was taken from him, it is returned to him. A pure neshama will be returned pure. A stained neshama will return stained. A torn neshama will return torn. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, the Chavetz Chaim cried out, everybody is waiting for Tchias HaMesim. Everyone's waiting for the resurrection of the dead. We're waiting for Mashiach. We have to remember that the same neshama that we have in this world will be returned to us. Woe to us, how great is the shame. Everybody was standing by Tchias HaMesim, Moshe Rabbeinu, Aaron, the Avos, the Tanaim, the Marayim. Everyone will return to life with pure neshamas. The Chavetz Chaim saying humbly, and I will be there with my stained neshama. And he kept repeating the words, Ulahachazirah bi. Ulahachazirah bi, will be returned to me, will be returned to me. He cried out again and again, and that's the story. So you see that those who make a lot of effort in shaping a more beautiful soul and making their acts more sanctified will be holier people and will have eternal benefits from that. And that's why we make a bracha mitzvah, asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvah sab, that you made us holy by doing your mitzvah. Every mitzvah confers holiness upon you, etc., etc. And holiness means the nature of your soul. The way we behave affects our soul. The way we develop our midos affects our soul. If we behave with dignity, our soul is dignified. If, on the other hand, you always scream at the drop of a hat, when you feel your covet is being impinged on and you never really fixed it, so guess what? When you're going to be resurrected, you're going to be yelling and screaming, how come I'm in the back? Why don't I have a better seat? In that next reality, you won't be able to control your anger. That's the way it works. So therefore, we have to realize that the association that the soul has with the body is an eternal one, and it will be restored. But the question is, how do you want it restored? Now, obviously, some things get fixed up in Gehenna, where where you'll understand things a little better. But those indelible blemishes, some of those blemishes, even Gehenna doesn't clean them all out. They'll be stuck with them forever. So now, with that, we can now go back to our story in the Gemara and explain things properly. So let me just take this out. And let's just share back with you the Gemara now. So we're putting it all back together. And let's come back to our story. And our story was the girl over here was so let's go back to Titus. Titus, who was being every day burnt to a crisp. And he says, go attack the Jewish people. Well, the soul he had when he left this world, that's the soul that he still has. Even in the world of truth, the hatred and the anti-Semitism of Titus still can't stop. He cannot control himself. And even though every day he's burnt to a crisp, he still is saying, go kill them, because you'll be on top. You'll be on top. Even though he sees the truth in this world, it doesn't matter. We cannot change. So that seems to be the interpretation over here as well. If a person, this young woman who was into her beauty, and she identified her self-esteem by how beautiful she looked. Now, of course, we're not telling women they shouldn't put makeup on. Chas v'shalom, they should look pretty for their husbands and for themselves. But some people take it to extremes. Like, I won't go out of the house unless I look beautiful. And I guess some people, are suffering greatly now that they're not able to go to the beauty parlors and to have people, give them whatever, waxes and all these things, and they might begin to start losing their self-esteem. If it's such a serious matter to such a person, where they feel like in great pain if they're not able to do this, they're not able to function, and there are certain people like that. So that doesn't leave. So obviously, this young woman who passed away young, obviously, she's not going to take actual makeup because there's no body to apply it to. But it's that sense of feeling of what you want, even though you are in the world where you can't have it. So it's more of an expression of a longing for this. So that's the way you've finished up your spiritual development with many of these shortcomings. These are the shortcomings you have eternally. So that's a very sobering message, and that's what we're learning in the Mesilas Yesharim about Zehirus, to realize that everything we're doing is really important, and we have to realize it will carry eternal consequences for the rest of our existence. Now, again, I don't want it to make it seem that those who haven't done a lot are going to be miserable in the next world. I'm not suggesting that at all. We'll all be happy that the Jewish people get resurrected. We'll all be happy that God's reality will be known to everybody. We'll be happy that the true reality is there. We don't have to worry about anti-Semitism and all these things. But then as you look at yourself and you say, I see all the other people there, they're so much more spiritual. And in this next world, the spirituality is what really counts, and they're at the top. And I'm, I'm like a midget of spirituality and certain feelings. I just can't, I'll eternally live with that. On the one hand, you're going to feel so great that we're together, all together with Hashem and everything. But on the other hand, some of those personality flaws are still with you eternally. So that's going to, put a little bit of a damper on that. So that's a good idea that now is the time to take care of that. Okay, let's do one more quick story. It's not too long. Toshma, another story, trying to bring a proof now. Do the dead know what's going on in this world? Davua to Shmuel. Shmuel's father, they entrusted with him orphans' monies. Unfortunately, when he died, Shmuel wasn't near his father who died, and the father wasn't able to tell him where the money was with the kids. So people called Shmuel the person who ate up the orphans' monies. In other words, they thought Shmuel stole it. Shmuel said, I didn't know where it is. My father never told me where it was. I didn't even know he had money of orphans. What are you blaming me for? So now it could be a great chil Hashem. So what did he do? He followed his father to the courtyard of death. Again, here it's very interesting because Shmuel was a Kohen. So he obviously could not go into an actual cemetery, but again, he esoterically is communicating with his father. Amar laho, he said to them, he's saying to the people, he wants to get to see his father. You don't go direct. There's a whole realm of souls before that will decide if you can see anybody. He says, Ba'ina Abba, I seek Abba. Amr lahu, they said, Abba Tuva Ika. There's a lot of people named Abba up in this world. Amr lahu, he said, Ba'ina Abba bar Abba, I want Abba, the son of Abba. Because Shmuel's grandfather was also called Abba. Fascinating. Abba bar Abba. Amrulay, they said, Abba bar Abba Nami Tuvika. There's a lot of Abba bar Abbas in the next world. So Amrullah, he said, let me make it clear. Bina Abba bar Abba Avua de Shmuel. Abba bar Abba, who's my father, and I'm Shmuel. Now, Shmuel is a great rabbi. Now, he wasn't trying to be arrogant, but he wanted to get their attention. This is the man I mean over here. And Shmuel was a great rabbi. So he said, so now I'm Shmuel. So Heicha, where is he? Well, where's my father? Amarle, they said to him, Solik L'Masifterikia, he was ascended to the heavenly academy. He's in a good place. But anyway, Adahochi, but in the meanwhile, Shmuel noticed something else. He saw that Levi, another friend, who was a deceased friend of Shmuel, was on the outside of the circle of the dead. In other words, it appeared to Shmuel, he was sitting in a circle outside of the graves, and he was outside of the circle of all the rabbis, etc. He didn't get to go into the good place. So he's saying to his friend Levi, Amaya Safta Barai, why are you sitting on the outside of the other dead circles? First, why aren't you in the inner sanctum? That's what he says. My time alo salakta, why haven't you ascended to the heavenly academy? Levi said to them, the reason I'm not allowed is they said to me, I did something wrong. Kol kihanach shanik lo salikl v'sif, the Rebbe Ofes, for as many years as you did not go to the academy of Rabbi Ofes. In other words, when you were alive, there was another rabbi, and you didn't go to his yeshiva, and he kind of felt hurt by that. So all the years you didn't go there, and you caused him distress. So as long as that happened, you're not going to get to go to the heavenly academy. You have to sit it out and wait for that time. That's the punishment. Okay? So that's why I haven't been able to get in. In the meanwhile, Shmuel's father came. He was waiting for his father's soul to come. So his father's soul came. So Shmuel saw that his father was both crying and laughing. Amalei, he said to his father, my time of kabachis, why are you crying? Amalei, he answered him, Dila agal ka'asis, because you will be coming here soon to join me. In other words, I know you, my son, you're going to die soon. My time achicha, so why are you laughing then? Because the answer is because I know where they're going to send you. The chashivas by Halmatu, because you're really highly regarded in this world, and you're going to be in a good place. So what do you see from this story? That in the world of the living, that Shmuel's father knew that Shmuel was very highly regarded in that world. So he says, that's a fact. So Shmuel said to his father, if I'm so highly regarded and I'm important, so you know what? I got a little problem on the side over here. Now, let Levi into the academy. Why is he having to wait so long? If I'm that important, my word should be worth something. And they let Levi in. Good. So now Shmuel has to come back to the main thing he wanted. So he said to his friend, listen, Abba, where's the money of the orphans? It's a big chil Hashem. He said, okay, I'll tell you where I put it. Zil go take it from the inside of a bed stone of the mill. There was a mill with a stone, and I put it over there. There's a lot of money there. There's money on the top, there's money on the bottom. That money on the top and the bottom, that's ours. Tidon. But the money in the middle, separate bag in the middle, the Yasmin belongs to the orphans. So he says, so by time, why'd you do it that way? Why'd you put the money in the middle like that? He said, I'll tell you why, to take care of their money, make sure nothing would happen to it. Because if robbers would come and bust through the millstone and they'd steal, they'd only see what was on the top. So they'd steal ours, which is on the top. On the other hand, if the earth would decompose some of the money from the bottom, then it would decompose our money. So therefore, I want to save the money. But the main point of the story is what? Alma, we see the Yadi. You know, the dead knows what's going on. Shmuel's father knew how highly regarded Shmuel was, and also the fact that Shmuel's father knew Shmuel would die. So you see what's going on. Again, we see what's going on. So as Moore says, it's not a proof. Dilma, shiny Shmuel. Maybe with Shmuel it's different. Even the Chashik, since he was so important, Kadmiya Machris, announcements goes out in heaven well before he dies, saying, Panu Makom, leave a space over here. So it could be the dead don't know what's going on in this world, but when a tzaddik is dying, right before they know all about it. So again, we have not proved with finality if the dead knows what's going on. Tomorrow we'll continue this sugya and come to its conclusion. Okay, sorry for going a couple minutes extra. Have a wonderful Lag Bomer. Get your haircuts.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Make sure
Lag
you do
Bomer.
it properly since you're doing it on yourself. All right, take care. Sei gesund.
Have a good day.
Okay, bye-bye.